My name is Andrea Brooks. I'm 27, and here's how my story begins. People say betrayal hits like a punch. For me, it felt more like drowning, slow, silent, and humiliating. And the moment it happened, the entire room watched it unfold like a spectacle. But before we get to the night everything collapsed, let me take you back. I'd been with my boyfriend Aaron for 3 years. We met through friends at a casual bar hangout. Nothing glamorous. Just cheap drinks, loud music, and that warm buzz you get when you meet someone who fits perfectly into your quiet corners. He was charismatic in a soft way, charming without trying. He worked as a marketing specialist at a mid-sized firm, the type who could talk anyone into anything. I admired that. Me, I'm more on the analytics side of marketing. Campaign data, conversion tracking spreadsheets, the quietly powerful stuff most people never notice but rely on anyway. It wasn't flashy, but it paid well. It gave us a comfortable apartment downtown where we built a life together, movie nights, coffee mornings, and the sense that we were a team. At least, I thought we were. Looking back now, the cracks weren't subtle. I just chose not to see them. The first sacrifice. About a year into our relationship, I was offered a major promotion, my dream position, but at a branch 2 hours away. More pay, more responsibility, the exact step forward I'd worked toward for years. But Aaron had just been laid off and was barely getting by with freelance gigs. One night, curled up on the couch with tear-stained cheeks, he whispered, "I need you here, Andrea. I can't do this alone right now." So I stayed, turned down the promotion, picked up extra work, covered rent until he stabilized. I cooked dinners. I helped polish his resume. I held him on nights he spiraled into self-doubt. He posted cute photos online praising his supportive girlfriend, calling me his constant, his anchor. Those posts made it feel worth it. Back then, I believed love was measured in sacrifice. But sacrifice without reciprocity slowly becomes self-destruction. Enter Michelle. Aaron's new job came with long, happy hours and outgoing coworkers. Mostly harmless people, except for one name that kept popping up, Michelle. Michelle was that effortlessly magnetic type. Late 20s, socially fearless, always planning the next karaoke night or spontaneous road trip. She and Aaron clicked instantly. At least that's how he described it. "She's like a sister to me," he'd say with a laugh. "You'd like her. You should come out with us sometime." I tried. Lord knows I did. But every time I met her, she'd cling to his arm, whisper jokes into his shoulder, and look at me like I'd walked in on something private. When her name lit up his phone at midnight, he'd angle the screen away. When he came home smelling like someone else's cologne, he'd blame crowded bars. He'd brush off my concerns with a soft kiss on my forehead. "Don't be insecure, babe. Michelle's just fun. You're overthinking." I convinced myself he was right. I wasn't the jealous type. I prided myself on being calm, grounded, logical. But logic loses its grip when patterns start forming. The party. The night everything shattered was supposed to be fun, a housewarming at a mutual friend's place that somehow became a full-blown party. Aaron insisted we go. "It'll be good for you," he'd said with a bright grin. "Loosen up, Dre. Come on." I wasn't in the mood, but for him, I went. We arrived together, but didn't stay that way. He drifted toward his usual crew laughter, echoing across the room while I made small talk with familiar faces. My eyes kept sweeping the crowd out of habit, searching for him. An hour in, I found him. Or rather, I found them. In the living room, packed with people and neon lights flickering off the walls, Aaron sat on the couch with Michelle perched squarely on his lap. Her arms draped around his neck. His hand rested comfortably on her waist. They were laughing hysterically, foreheads almost touching. Someone whispered beside me, "Aren't they dating?" "No, that's Aaron's girlfriend over there. Wait." "Oh." My stomach dropped so hard I felt the floor spin. This wasn't friendly closeness. This wasn't like a sister. This wasn't innocent. This was intimate, public, purposeful. And then Michelle spotted me. Her eyes widened. A flash of guilt flickered across her face, then vanished. Aaron followed her glance. "And do you know what he did?" He smiled. A smug, dismissive, almost mocking smile. He didn't even ask Michelle to get off. He just waved me over like nothing was wrong. "Dre, come join us." Then the line that split me open. "Don't be insecure. Michelle's like a sister to me." Sister. Right. A sister sitting on his lap at a crowded party with her arms wrapped around him like a lover. I didn't yell, didn't throw a drink, didn't make a scene. Instead, I walked over slowly and said, "Aaron, can we talk outside?" Michelle rolled her eyes. Aaron sighed dramatically like I was ruining the vibe. But he followed me. The backyard. String lights flickered overhead. A few smokers stood in the corner, unaware of the storm brewing at the fence line where we stood facing each other. "What's your problem?" he snapped before I said anything. "You're acting crazy." My voice was steady. "You were sitting with Michelle on your lap." "Jesus, Andrea, it was a joke. We were messing around. It's not that deep." "That's not how it looked. You're blowing this up for no reason. You've been so sensitive lately." Sensitive, insecure, crazy. The holy trinity of gaslighting. I exhaled slowly. "We've been together 3 years. Basic respect shouldn't be negotiable." "Respect," he scoffed. "You turn down promotions, avoid risks, stay in your safe little bubble. Michelle pushes me to be better. She actually gets me. You've gotten boring." There it was, the truth disguised as cruelty. "So you've been checking out emotionally because I'm not exciting enough for you." He shrugged. "Call it what you want. You've been distant. Michelle and I vibed. You should have stepped up." I felt something inside me snap, not pain, just clarity. Cold, clean clarity. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to compete. I wasn't going to twist myself into knots for a man who wanted chaos more than commitment. "Okay," I said softly, surprisingly calm. "If that's how you feel, fine." I met his eyes unblinking. "Keep it in the family." Then I turned and walked out of that party without looking back. As I stepped into the cool night air, my phone buzzed once, then again, and again. By morning, he would call 47 times. But that night, in that moment, for the first time in years, I chose myself. When I walked out of that party, I expected to fall apart. I expected the kind of heartbreak that leaves you shaking in your car, gripping the steering wheel, wondering what just happened. But instead, a strange calm settled over me. Not peace, just clarity. A numb, steady clarity that told me I had stayed far too long in a place that no longer valued me. I drove home in silence. No music, no tears. Just the dull hum of the engine and the echo of Aaron's dismissive voice replaying in my head. As soon as I stepped into our apartment, no, his apartment now, it felt like stepping into a stranger's home. It didn't matter that my clothes were in the closet or my mug sat on the counter. The space felt wrong, heavy, like something poisonous had seeped into the walls without me noticing. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. 20 calls, then 27, 30. I set it face down on the counter and kept packing. No ceremony, no dramatic sobbing. I simply took what I needed, some clothes, toiletries, laptop chargers, documents, the essentials of a life that suddenly felt very small. I left the key on the counter. I didn't know if that was symbolic or practical, and I didn't care enough to think about it. I just needed distance, fresh air, silence that didn't come with excuses, gaslighting, or Michelle's perfume on his clothes. I crashed at my friend Maya's place that night. She didn't ask questions. She took one look at me, opened the door wider, and handed me a blanket. I appreciated the lack of interrogation more than anything. I wasn't ready to unravel or retell the story. I needed stillness first. Morning came too quickly. My neck ached from her lumpy couch, and sunlight cut into my eyes like it was trying to interrogate me. When I picked up my phone from the coffee table, it was dead battery drained by persistent ringing and vibrating. I plugged it in, waited for it to revive, and when it finally lit up, the notifications poured in like a flood bursting through a cracked dam. 47 missed calls, 11 voicemails, texts upon texts, some from him, some from friends who had seen me leave the party asking if everything was okay. His messages ranged from irritated to pleading. "Andrea, answer your phone. Can we please talk like adults? You're being dramatic. Dre, I'm worried. Why are you doing this? I didn't even do anything. Seriously, this is childish. Call me. Andrea. Please call me back." The emotional cycle was predictable. First denial, then annoyance, then guilt-tripping, then panic, then looping back to blame. All of it so painfully familiar that it almost made me laugh. I didn't respond. I didn't even open the voicemails. I turned the phone off again. By late morning, I forced myself back to the apartment to gather the rest of my crucial belongings. I half expected Aaron to be there waiting ready with excuses or a half-hearted apology, but the place was empty. For a moment, that stung how quickly he'd run to Michelle or his friends instead of coming home. But then the sting faded. Good. Let him stay gone. I packed the rest of what I needed into duffel bags and left everything else untouched. Furniture shared kitchen stuffed towels. Those were just objects. I didn't want a hostage negotiation over dishes and picture frames. I wanted a clean break. By the afternoon, I'd signed a short-term lease for a small studio across town. It wasn't much, just a bed, a kitchenette, white walls. But the air felt different there, open, fresh, like I could finally exhale. When I sat down on the mattress, I turned my phone back on, unblocked. Aaron for 30 seconds and typed exactly one message. The apartment is yours for now. I'll cover my half of the rent until the lease ends. We can split the belongings later. I don't want drama. Then I blocked him again. For the first time in 3 years, I drew a boundary and didn't apologize for it. That night, I deleted every social media account tied to our relationship. Not in anger, not to erase him, but because I didn't want to be tethered to a world where people judged my stability by how many smiling photos I posted with a man who didn't respect me. The silence was unfamiliar but strangely comforting. It wrapped around me like a protective blanket. Friends reached out confused, curious, too interested. I kept my replies short. Aaron and I are done. I don't want to talk about it. Please don't get involved. Some respected it, some didn't. I muted the ones who couldn't take the hint. The days blurred together. I worked long hours because it was the one place where my brain didn't replay the party over and over. My boss noticed the change. "You're sharper these days," she said. Focused. Whatever switch flipped, keep it. I started going to the gym again, something I'd stopped doing because Aaron complained I spent too much time on myself. The first few days were rough. My body felt heavy, drained, but every run loosened something inside me. Every weight lifted made me feel less fragile. I cooked meals for one. Simple ones, nothing fancy. But the act of feeding myself felt grounding. Sometimes the loneliness hit like a gut punch. The silence in my studio was thick at night. My mind replayed all the little things I had brushed off Michelle's constant texts, the late-night work drinks, the way he angled his phone away from me. The unfairness gnawed at me. How someone could take so much of you and then act like you were the unreasonable one for needing clarity. But instead of spiraling, I started writing in a journal Maya had given me months ago. Thoughts poured out, chaotic but honest. Slowly patterns formed. I began to see how much of myself I had lost trying to meet him where he refused to meet me. Friends sent me small updates about Aaron even when I didn't ask. "He's been hanging around Michelle a lot. He said you overreacted. He's acting weird lately. You didn't imagine anything, everyone noticed the vibe." I didn't engage, not because I didn't care, but because I refused to let him drag me back into circles of doubt. One night, after a long day at work, I found myself scrolling job listings. I applied for a promotion in my company, the same type I once declined for Aaron. I didn't hesitate this time. I didn't even second guess it. Weekends became something new. I took solo hikes on nearby trails, breathing in the quiet, feeling my legs burn, my lungs expand, my heart beat hard for myself, not for someone else's chaos. It wasn't healing, not fully, but it was the start of something, a rebuilding, a return to myself. And though I didn't know it yet while I was quietly putting my life back together, Aaron's was beginning to fall apart. I didn't go looking for updates about Aaron. I didn't stalk his profiles. I didn't ask mutual friends what he was doing or who he was with. I genuinely wanted distance, clean, uninterrupted distance. But the thing about bad news is that it travels even when you don't want it to. And his downfall came to me piece by piece, almost like the universe insisting I see exactly what I'd walked away from. It started with a simple message from an old coworker of his. Not my business, but, "Girl, he's not doing great." I ignored it. Then another friend casually mentioned over coffee, "I think Aaron moved some stuff to Michelle's place. They're, official now," or something like that. I stirred my drink, slowly waited for the familiar sting, the punch of betrayal. Nothing came, just a quiet, dull confirmation of what I already knew. Emotional cheating doesn't magically become romantic purity once the relationship changes. What they had started long before I caught them on that couch. But as the weeks passed, the tone of those updates shifted from gossipy to concerned. "He's been late to work a lot. His boss wrote him up for messing up client files. Michelle and Aaron are fighting nonstop." I stayed silent. I never asked questions. It wasn't my life anymore. But the details trickled in anyway, each more revealing than the last. Apparently, Michelle was chaos-wrapped in glitter, unpredictable, fiery, and extremely good at spinning narratives that made her the victim. At first, Aaron was enchanted by her energy. She pushed him into spontaneous road trips, drained weekends on bar crawls, and late nights that bled into early mornings. The very things he once told me made him feel alive. But excitement has a short shelf life when there's no foundation underneath. Within 2 weeks of their new relationship, he started missing work. At first, just a couple hours late here and there, then whole mornings. His coworkers whispered that Michelle kept him up drinking until dawn, and that she'd yell at him over tiny things, him forgetting to like her, post him not replying fast enough, him looking at another girl for half a second too long. The irony was poetic. The man who accused me of being boring now lived in a soap opera. One night I got a text from my friend Lily. "I know you don't want updates, but you need to hear this." Michelle showed up at Aaron's job and caused a scene. I didn't respond, so she continued. She accused him of texting another girl. In the lobby, she threw his phone at him. I set my phone down and stared at the wall for a long moment, not because I wanted him back or felt sorry for him, but because it was surreal watching everything he glorified crumble so quickly. Mutual friends stopped defending him. Slowly, the ones who once insisted he was just confused or that Michelle's harmless changed their tone. "You were right. He treated you like shit. You deserve better." I didn't feel vindicated. I felt detached, like they were describing a movie I'd once seen but no longer cared to rewatch. About a month after our breakup, the narrative shifted completely. Instead of small fights or public scenes, the story took a darker turn. Michelle had been fired from her job. I didn't know the details, but apparently she'd been flirty with a manager. Things got messy, and it became workplace gossip. Aaron tried to support her financially, but he didn't have the stability or savings to play hero, and when he couldn't carry her, she broke him. They argued constantly. She accused him of ruining her life. He accused her of never being sober anymore. She accused him of being broke and boring. He accused her of using him. Eventually, it escalated, and one night, according to someone who lived in Michelle's building, they had a screaming match in the hallway. Michelle shoved him. He yelled back. Security was called. Michelle slammed the door in his face and locked him out. The next morning, she texted him a single line. "We're done. You're too much drama." The same line he threw at me the night he humiliated me in front of everyone. I remember reading that update and feeling absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, just distance, like watching a storm from miles away. Meanwhile, my own life was quietly repairing itself in small, steady ways. At work, my manager pulled me aside. "Andrea, the senior analytics position is opening up. You should apply." A month earlier, I would have hesitated. Now I nodded without second-guessing. I will. I was hitting the gym regularly, eating better, sleeping soundly. The anxiety that used to live in my chest like a permanent tenant had slowly packed its bags and moved out. The contrast between our lives could not have been more stark. He was unraveling. I was rebuilding. One mutual friend tried to summarize it delicately, Aaron's kind of losing it. Another wasn't as gentle. Michelle played him the way he played you. He's fucked, and everyone sees it now. But the moment it truly clicked when I realized karma wasn't just real, but inevitable, was when I got a message from a friend who still followed Michelle on social media. "You won't believe this. Michelle posted a rant on her story saying Aaron ruined her financially and lied about who he was and that she wasted months on someone who couldn't handle her lifestyle. She called him a coward. The same man she'd bragged about vibing with, the one who made her feel alive, the one she'd flirted with behind my back for months. Now he was just another stepping stone she'd crushed on her way to the next thrill. And while his world was collapsing, mine was expanding. I wasn't healed yet, but I was whole. And every day I grew more certain that walking away without yelling, begging, or fighting was the smartest thing I'd ever done. But the universe wasn't done twisting the knife, not yet. Aaron's lowest point was still coming, and soon he would drag me directly into it. By the time the second month rolled around, Aaron's attempts to reach me had shifted from dozens of missed calls to quiet, calculated intrusions. He stopped blowing up my phone because I kept blocking every new number. So he found other ways, roundabout ways, ways that made it impossible to pretend he still wasn't circling me like someone desperate for a lifeline. It began with the lease. We still had to deal with it, technically. Both our names were on the contract. I'd moved out without fuss, without taking anything that would cause a fight, but paperwork doesn't care about emotional clarity. It demands signatures and face-to-face interaction. I sent him a neutral email from a clean new address. "Aaron, we need to meet briefly to sign the release forms. Coffee shop on 5th at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Just business." He replied within 7 minutes. "Yeah, sure, whatever you want. No how are you, no dramatics, just cold compliance." Or so I thought. The next day, he arrived 10 minutes early. I knew because I saw him through the cafe window before I entered. He was hunched over the table elbows, digging into his knees, staring at nothing. He looked smaller, paler. Some mix of exhaustion and chaos had hollowed his face. When I approached, he stood quickly, almost knocking over the chair. "Andrea," he said, and the way he said my name felt like a plea trying to disguise itself. I sat down without reacting. "Let's just get this done." He slid the paperwork toward me, but his hands were trembling. He didn't hide it well. I signed my sections silently and pushed them back. His eyes were fixed on me, searching for something. Anger, hurt, regret. Anything that would tell him he still held space in my world. Finally, he spoke. "So, is this it?" "You wanted space," I said. "I gave it to you." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." His voice cracked just enough to betray him. "Andrea, I messed up." I kept my expression steady. He didn't deserve my anger or my sympathy. He deserved the truth. "No, I said you made choices, and then those choices made consequences." He swallowed thickly. "Michelle and I—" He stopped, shook his head. "It wasn't what you think. I was confused. Things got twisted. You were sitting with her on your lap, Aaron. That night was stupid. I was drunk. She sat down. I messed up, but I didn't cheat." "You didn't cheat physically?" I said calmly. "Emotionally. You were gone long before the party." He flinched. "Andrea, please," he whispered. "I've been trying to get my life back together. Work's been tough. Michelle screwed me over. I need someone who actually believes in me." There it was. Not "I miss you." Not "I'm sorry." Not "I hurt you, and I see it now." He needed someone. He needed stability. He needed comfort. He didn't need me. He needed what I gave him. "No," I said softly, firmly. "You want a safety net. I'm not that anymore." His breath hitched. "Don't say that." I stood up. "Sign the papers, Aaron." He hesitated, then scribbled his signature with shaking hands. As soon as the pen dropped, his emotional restraint cracked completely. He reached out, grabbing my wrist gently, not forcefully, but desperately. "Dre, please, don't leave like this." I pulled my hand back. "Goodbye, Aaron." I walked out of the cafe before he could say anything else. I blocked his email on the way to my car. But that was only the beginning. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Andrea, I need to talk to you. Please unblock me. Just give me 5 minutes." Blocked. Next day, another number. "Please don't do this. I'm trying to fix things." Blocked. Then it escalated. Mutual friends began texting. "Hey," Aaron reached out. "He's not doing well. He said he needs closure. Are you sure you don't want to talk to him? He's a wreck." I responded the same each time. "It's not my job to fix him. Please respect my boundaries." Some listened, some didn't. His sister called me next. Her voice was sharp, accusatory. "Andrea, you're being cruel. He's heartbroken. He says you won't even hear him out. You were together for 3 years. You owe him a conversation." I hung up mid-sentence and blocked her. Then came the worst line of all from his best friend. "Come on, Andrea. He chose Michelle because she was fun. He chose you because you were stable. Now he needs stability again. Don't kick him when he's down." The entitlement was staggering. I stopped replying altogether. But Aaron wasn't done. One Wednesday afternoon, my office front desk called up in a panic. There's a man down here insisting he needs to see you. He says it's urgent." My stomach sank. I went downstairs, determined to end this once and for all. He was waiting in the lobby, pacing hands in his hair, eyes bloodshot. "Andrea," he said, walking toward me like I was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. "You can't just disappear. Please, I need you." "No, Aaron," I said quietly. "You need control. There's a difference." "You left me," he snapped. "After everything I gave you. You gave me gaslighting, excuses, humiliation." "You're heartless," he hissed. "And you're out of line," I replied. "Leave." No. Security escorted him out, while he shouted over his shoulder, "No one else will put up with how cold you are. You'll regret this." But I didn't regret a thing. Not then, not later, not now. Because walking away wasn't cruelty, it was survival. And karma wasn't finished with him yet. 6 months after their breakup, I thought the story was finally behind me. My life had shifted so far from the person I used to be that sometimes it felt like I was looking back at someone else's memories, someone else's heartbreak. The girl who walked out of that party had been exhausted, shrinking, apologizing for taking up space. The woman I was becoming didn't apologize for breathing. Work was thriving. I'd earned the promotion I once turned down. My studio apartment had slowly transformed into a real home. Plants, warm lights, books stacked in corners. The kind of cozy clutter that belongs only to someone who finally has room to grow. And I had started seeing someone, Evan. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't dramatic. He came into my life quietly like soft rain after months of storms, steady, patient grounding. A friend introduced us at a weekend hiking group, and over time, he became someone who listened more than he spoke, someone who noticed small things, someone whose presence didn't demand sacrifice, only honesty. We were still taking things slow, but he made me feel safe in ways I'd forgotten were possible. When a mutual friend invited me to her wedding, I hesitated. Aaron would be there. Michelle might be there. The old version of me would have stayed home, avoiding awkwardness, avoiding conflict, avoiding anything that might cause emotional turbulence. But I wasn't her anymore. I RSVP'd yes, and I brought Evan as my plus one. The venue was beautiful, an outdoor garden filled with strings of soft golden lights and layered flowers in every shade of pink and white. Music played low in the background, guests mingling near cocktail tables. Evan's hand rested gently at the small of my back, warm and reassuring. And then I saw him. Aaron stood near the bar alone, holding a drink. He wasn't really drinking. His suit hung a little too loose on his frame, as if he'd lost weight he couldn't afford to lose. His eyes had that hollow exhaustion you don't get from one bad night. It was months of wrong decisions catching up to him. He looked at me. His face froze. Whatever artificial confidence he'd tried to wear melted instantly. I turned away ready to enjoy my night, but he didn't let me. He walked straight toward me with a stiff, desperate determination that set the air buzzing. "Andrea," he said quietly, "can we talk, please?" Evan looked at me, waiting for my cue. I squeezed his hand lightly. "I've got this." He nodded and stepped aside just enough to give us space without leaving me alone. "Aaron," I said calmly, "this isn't the time." He shook his head, panic flickering across his face. "It has to be. I need to tell you I'm sorry. For everything. For Michelle. For what I said. For that night. I was stupid. I was lost." People nearby pretended not to listen, but their ears were tilted toward us. He swallowed hard. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't see it until—" His voice cracked. "Until everything fell apart." I kept my expression neutral. "Aaron, I hope you figure things out, but whatever you're looking for from me, it's not going to happen. I've been in therapy." He rushed out like it might sway me. "I'm trying to fix myself. Michelle, she used me. She drained me. She cheated on me. She took my money. I stopped him with a small motion of my hand. "Aaron, don't do this here. Please," he whispered, voice trembling. "Just talk to me. I'm begging you. We can fix us. I still love you." The words hung in the air like a trap. I took a breath, steady and sure. "Don't be insecure," I said softly. He blinked, confused. "What?" My expression didn't change. "I'm like a stranger to you now." Recognition flashed in his eyes, the mirror of the line he'd once used to belittle me, the truth settling like a blade. His face crumpled, and for a moment I saw the man who once sat on our couch asking me why I wasn't smiling. The man who'd accused me of being boring. The man who held Michelle around the waist while I watched from a doorway. But he wasn't my responsibility anymore. "You chose someone who gave you chaos," I said gently. "I chose someone who gives me peace." His gaze flicked to Evan, standing a respectful distance away, calm and steady, like a lighthouse. There was no jealousy in Aaron's expression, just realization, the unmistakable understanding that he had lost something he would never get back. "I'm happy now," I said simply. "Truly." Aaron swallowed hard, eyes glassy. "So that's it." "That's it," I said. "I hope you grow. I hope you heal, but I'm done carrying you." He nodded, shakily stepped back, and for the first time since the breakup, he didn't try to argue. He didn't yell. He didn't guilt trip. He simply walked away, shoulders slumped, disappearing into the crowd of laughing guests. I turned back to Evan. He smiled softly and brushed a thumb over my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. Later, someone told me Aaron left early, slipped out before dinner, before the first dance, before the toasts. I didn't notice. I was too busy living. Dancing, laughing, breathing easily for the first time in so long. That night, walking back to the car with Evan beside me and the distant sound of wedding music fading behind us, I realized something. Betrayal doesn't define you. Walking away does. And you don't need